In Neville Goddard's 1959 lecture, The Foundation Stone Imagination, Neville says, "We believe that man can create anything he desires. We believe the universe is infinite response, and the one who causes it is the individual perceiver. Nothing is independent of your perception of it. We are so interwoven, we are part of the machine. But as we awake, we detach ourselves from this machine and make life as we wish it to be. For man is all imagination, and God is man and exists in us and we in him. The eternal body of man is the imagination. That is God himself. You can imagine, and I can imagine, and if we can be faithful to the state imagined, it must appear in our world. I guess you could liken this is like the Wizard of Oz when they found out who the wizard really was. But now you find out what is behind all the magic of the phenomena of life. You, your perception. And knowing this, you can go on to make your own magic intentionally. What magical life do you want to create? What magical life are you creating now?" Neville goes on to say, "I tell you that this stone is your imagination, and it is called in the Bible Christ Jesus or God or the Lord. It is your imagination, which is one with the divine imagination which created, sustains, changes, and even destroys parts of the creation. And it is a sure foundation, and he who believes in it will not be in haste. If I can but imagine, and know that imagining creates reality, I will not be impatient or lead a superficial life. When a man does not live in his imagination, he will become impatient of the outcomes of what he desires, and finally, he will become violent in his effort to get things. So do not be fooled by the superficial cause and effect. Do not keep creating off what you think are signs that came first. I know for a long time, since our childhood, many of us have been led away from our imagination, especially using the imagination as a way of life, as the source of life. And we often want to take this rusty muscle and test it out on the things that feel impossible from our heart. And we must be patient as this muscle warms up, and to warm it up properly, even on the little things that feel poignant in life. Because if we need to, it will let us pace ourselves, as that muscle remembers its power and comes to life. And all those things that once felt impossible become a piece of cake, like has done for some masters in this world. And you are on that path as well. That's why you're listening to this. All things by a law divine in one another's being mingle. We all influence each other. We are all interpenetrated. And the more one is deeply concerned for another, the more he is penetrated by another. Whatever we think about, we feel, we react to. We are penetrating on a thought, conscious level. We're mixing with that energy. So while you're refining this imaginative and faith muscle, be discerning what you let grow in the garden of your mind. And remember during the Great Depression, when Neville Goddard lost his job as an elevator man at Macy's. In fact, he was fired. But don't be so quick to judge something a failure, because after that, he never had another boss. He went full force into the mystical and brought us the great treasures that stand the test of time. Neville said, "My father lost everything he owned, and that proved to be the beginning of a great dream he brought to pass. One person believed in him, and he started on that. And when he made his exit last October, he had given to his community much that no one had ever given before. The blackest day of his life turned out to be the bright day of his life. No matter what you have done, forget it. You are God, and God is untarnished, for he is all imagining. Now you start to imagine and make it something of which you can be proud. Make it big. And forget what any other man says. You be faithful, and whatever you put the stone as an imaginal activity will come out into your world. So don't fall back asleep. Don't fall back to the old illusional way. You know too much now. And I'd say a big difference I see between those who succeed with this law and those who continue to have trials and tribulations and question it. One of those is consistency. Another is sometimes people fool themselves. They think they're doing everything Neville said. But I know of people who refuse to want to look at their life, who refuse to want to say, what they're watching all day long, what they're reacting to all day long. People who can say they can watch violence and fear and craziness all day long on the news and TV shows and movies, and they claim to me it has no effect on me. If they can't be honest and they want to continue to make excuses, to continue to do things which grow weeds in the garden of the mind, then let them be until they're humbled down enough in the furnaces of life to be not a swine for the great pearl, but to be ready as these great pearls are cast to you. And now let us go into the silence. As Neville says, good.